Click on the subscribe button, especially the bell on the right side. Otherwise, you will miss the latest videos.
Dealing with all these great experts in the West, particularly, and I was realizing that there was something was missing. So when I decided to find a guru, that I needed to have a guru, that was what it came down to. I had a choice to pretty much get out of the nonprofit world. Because of my background, I could get any job and really come towards making a lot of money. That's what I thought before understanding my chart, and become a billionaire. But then what happens? I make a lot of money, then what do? I die. I don't take the money with me. So what I decided to do is knowledge was important to me, and I needed to find a teacher. So I told you the story about going and trying to figure out,
You stayed in Nagpur for 3 and
No, so this was before that, before I went. So what happened was I decided, okay, well, I need to find a teacher, and that going to India was not an option. And that if I was supposed to have a teacher, the teacher will come to me. And so what I decided to do was I wrapped up the whole business, packed it up, and went for a 3-month vacation, not knowing where I'm going, not knowing where I'm going to earn, because I still had to pay my own rent and my own food. But I took 3 months off and went to Vancouver and had the grandest vacation and time I had, wonderful friends. And all of a sudden, because I was waiting for some nimitta, they said Guru will come to me. I really trusted. I had the shraddha that I will get the Guru. So I just waited, and I didn't know how, and I thought it was impossible in the Western world for a real Guru to show up. Just one day out of the blue, I get an email from Puja Swamiji. Really? Yes. And Puja Swamiji never writes emails. So I didn't realize the value of this until much later when I came here. And Sudatmaji, who's the general manager here at this ashram, he quietly one day came and told me, he said, Puja Swamiji doesn't reach out to people. So it's very rare. Because what had happened is when I got this email, I said, okay, who is this guy? I mean, I knew because of my Jyotish that he was here, but I had not met him before. I met some other Swamis here. And like I said earlier, I was not too keen on Swamis anyway. So, but I got this nimitta, and I said, let me follow through with this nimitta. Because of my contacts, decided to check up on him because I was still skeptical. So I made like 60 phone calls to find out who is this guy. And I couldn't pronounce his name at that time because of my accent. So, and consistently, because of the bad rap that Swamis get in the West, I thought I'll find one dirt on him. Like some dirt on Swamiji has to be there, because if there was some dirt I could get on somebody, I could always get it, So 60 phone calls, Westerners, Indians, a lot of people, and consistently people said, no, clean record. I didn't even know what Vedanta was at that time, so I said, does he know his stuff? Yeah. And consistently everybody said yes. That impressed me so much. I still didn't believe it. I said, I have to go see him. So I called up and I said, I got this email. I'm not sure it's from him. It says it's from him, because I couldn't believe that he would actually write an email. And I came here. When I came here, they really treated me like a VIP, which was surprising because I didn't expect that. I'm just here to play my skeptical self out and check him out and see who he is. But of course, when I met him, there was an instant connection, and then I told him my story and that I needed to study more, which is why I came to this point, and I was looking for some sort of nimitta. And after listening to his lectures, within 5-6 days, I knew I needed to study with him. And we didn't say much, but within 2 weeks, I got mantra diksha from him, and I asked him whether I could study. So he suggested I go to India. Okay. At that point, I was still living in luxury in the West, in California. I asked when I had to go, and he said January 1st, 2004. I went back and I packed up everything, and I knew that was the last day that I'm going to have that kind of luxury. And I thought I was an idiot, because to have the kind of luxury and comfort, you have to realize 15-acre, incredibly beautiful, 3 lakes, swans in the first lake, whatever I wanted I could get, and I'm going to give that up to go to a small ashram in the middle of a snake-infested forest.
Oh my God.
And what am I going to do there? How am I going to sleep? What not? I had a comfortable bed that I would sink in the West Coast. And I'm going to go to India, and I don't know the language, because I haven't spoken Indian language. I was never brought up with Indian language. And I was going to live in an ashram, which I never thought I was going to survive. Most people here, when I said I'm going to India to study, they started laughing so hard. And everyone made a bet. This guy is not going to last there more than a month. I mean, they literally told me later on. So I came here, I stayed with Swamiji a bit, and went to the lectures here. And January 1st, 2004, I flew to India. Went to Rishikesh for the first 6 months. Then I went to Nagpur, and I was there for another 3 years, studying both in Coimbatore, Rishikesh. And
Coimbatore ashram is there, right?
Yeah.
Swamiji.
Swamiji has an ashram in Coimbatore, which is where he spent most of his time. And then early, like January, February, March, April, that time he was in Rishikesh, and sometimes he would come. By the way, this Nagpur ashram was started by Jichkar, if you know him, Shrikant Jichkar, who is also a pretty impressive guy. He has about 20 degrees or something like that. Oh. So Swamiji sent me there to meet him there, because he knew that I've got like almost over 20 certificates and degrees, and he has got about 20 degrees or so. So he had said, because I wanted to go to Rishikesh, and he said, no, go to Nagpur, there's a young man I want you to meet there. So I went to Nagpur, and he had just died in a car crash coming out of the ashram, so I never got to meet him. But I ended up spending time there. So you see what I'm trying to point out? The first time was money, the second time was politics and education, and the third one was luxury, and that was my downfall. So I gave all that luxury up and went, and I slept on a cot on this ashram bed, which was very small, and that was the cotton bed. And there were insects everywhere. We're in the forest. Snakes, scorpions, bugs everywhere. In fact, I had 400 spiders in my room, because I could not kill insects. And I figured the geckos and the spiders would eat up all the insects, because, we didn't have nets. So I let these spiders, 2 spiders actually reproduce, and basically I let them stay up in my roof. So by the time, after 3 years, there was about 400 spiders. And
you can't imagine Rakesh ji. he sorry, in the afternoon, he gave me, those electric nets for killing the mosquitoes. Yeah. And thank you so much, Partha. So he gave me that, and that's something I've been postponing buying.
Right.
For my house back home, back in Bombay. My wife keeps on insisting on doing that, because I don't like to kill.
Right.
Okay. And even if there's a cockroach or this thing, it's something that has happened recently, in the last few years. I just try to push them off, and it will take half an hour, 1 hour, and I just hate, and I don't know what I'm going to do with those electric ones.
Give them away as a gift.
Yeah.
Well, I had malaria 27 times by then. And so the only things I would kill for the longest time was mosquitoes. But last 15 years, even as a brahmachari, I didn't kill. Because part of living in that ashram is that it's their territory. We are the invaders. So I felt that although they're coming in my room, although there were nets and everything, but there were these bugs, they would come, and I would get bitten. So I decided, look, I'm a brahmachari, I cannot kill.
In fact, I love getting bitten,
Really?
Yeah, because now
you have something sadistic in your chart.
No, I just feel, I really get up early morning, 4:30, 5, and I start working, and I sleep. I sleep sometimes mostly at 1:30, so I just have 2.5 hours sleep. So and I hate putting that electronic thing on, the smell of it. So because I feel sit over there.
Right.
I'm in my shorts. the mosquitoes are biting.
Right.
Let them bite.
Yeah.
Let them bite. And that pain, it might be sadistic, but I feel good. That's my karma.
That's your papa going out.
Yeah.
In fact, Puja Swamiji used to say, do you know that the only mosquitoes that bite you are pregnant mosquitoes?
Oh.
Yeah, it's the male mosquitoes won't bite you.
Okay.
See, what happens is when they're pregnant, they need blood. And so that's the only time they bite you. So the only mosquitoes that will bite you and suck blood are the pregnant ones.
Oh.
So you're killing mothers to be.
Oh.
I don't know whether that's a good thing, but
Means if at all you take that net and all that. Okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you're
So-
killing the mother. So in a way, if they're biting you, isn't it good? Somebody's getting fed.
it's getting fed, and you get
The
punya
child
from
is
it,
getting
and
fed.
you're also you're dispensing off some of your papa.
I've been doing something unknowingly. I didn't know this, but I'm happy I've been doing it.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe it's sadistic in me, but I really like that. When I get sick, I refuse to take medicines. If I get a pain, I will let it go on for days and days and suffer.
One of the greatest things about our tradition, which I began to learn over the time there, is that in the tradition you find, particularly in the South, ladies after doing their morning sadhana, they come out and then they do rangoli.
Yeah.
Why do they do rangoli?
For the ants,
Exactly, and that's punya.
because that is rice.
Yeah, you have to give flour or rice.
Yeah. So I mean, they usually make it with that
Yeah,
flour kind of
yeah.
thing.
So instead of taking flour and just tossing it outside and making the place look unpleasant, you do something decorative, and at the same time you're feeding ants and bugs, and that way you get some. And that, by the way, is prashchit karma. For Jyotish, when we want to appease some of our negative influences, this is how we mitigate it by feeding animals. Like, supposing you have Shani bothering you or affecting you negatively, one of the upaya, one of the prashchit karmas is to actually feed crows
Yeah.
or pigeons. Why crows and pigeons? What about other animals and other creatures? So if you look at the culture, inherent in the culture, which is so, to me, one of the most amazing things, is that every aspect of the Indian tradition, especially the traditional Indian tradition, you wake up from the morning, everything is about prashchit karma. From the morning you wake up, you do your arti and your prayers, and then you go cook, and then you go feed. You see, in the South, in villages, we don't do this anymore. Mothers, after they do their puja, they are not allowed to be touched by the child or anyone in the family.
Yeah.
Yes, because you see, you take a shower, you wash off the negative energy from the night. Then, that means you're sort of purified. Then you come and you do your arti and your puja in the morning. You get the blessings of Ishvara. Once you're purified and you have the blessings that's contained in you, then you go and cook. Because whenever you cook, that blessings of Ishvara goes into the food. Have you ever tried cooking with anger?
No.
Try it.
Yeah.
You'll hate it.
Oh.
If somebody cooks with love, doesn't matter what the recipe is,
Yeah.
it tastes great.
It tastes great.
Mother's cooking is always good, you know why?
Yeah.
Because of love. So you see, if you really go back and analyze the whole Indian tradition, it's all about appeasing our negative influences from our charts, because that's the proverb that we came in with. So we start with that. We are blessed. We have that blessings of Ishvara in us. Then the mother goes and cooks, and even a child is not supposed to touch her while she cooks. It still happens till today in certain villages.
Yeah.
And then, when she's done cooking, then she'll come and deal with everything else. Because that food is Ishvara, and when you eat it, that becomes part of you. So the whole family has a sanctified and purified food. Then she goes and touches with the kids and things like that. But before she goes to cook, there's certain sadhana she has to do. So she does her arti, she goes out and feeds the bugs, feeds the insects. Then there are other animals that they do during the day.
Can men do the rangoli?
Yeah, why not? It's not a discriminative. Our Indian tradition is not discriminative at all. It's an equal opportunity.
Some of you could try that. I'm going to start doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Swamiji, you were at Nagpur.
So
You
I was in
spent 3
Nagpur.
years
Yeah, so I was in
studying Vedanta.
Vedanta and Sanskrit, and that was a pure focus. So I dropped Jyotish by then. by that time, I'd also, because I was promoting all these institutions, I was also learning at the same time. So I studied Ayurveda in Rishikesh. And in fact, I was also doing some basic training. And I am certified to a Panchakarma, and I did some training even a little bit beyond Panchakarma. But I was mostly doing it to teach, not to practice.
Okay.
And then I got into Jyotish. I moved from Greek astrology to Jyotish, and that was here. And then 2 years after that is when I went to Nagpur. So 2002 was my first study of Jyotish. And then 2004 I stopped completely, 2003 basically. And then 2004 till 2007 I did not practice Jyotish at all. There was this hurricane, remember the tsunami that came in? I had predicted 2 weeks ago that there was going to be a major disaster. To my Acharya, she knows. I made quite a few predictions. The last 5 predictions of who's going to win the presidency of the US I predicted correctly, and one of them was between Bush and Al Gore. So my brahmacharis, there were some of them who were keeping in touch with the news, and they did ask me something. So they asked me who I was going to win, and I did my prashna and said Bush was going to win. And so, but basically the last 5 presidencies I've been able to predict correctly. And then I came back, and then I started doing Jyotish years from 2007 onwards.
So from 2007, you've been at Sailasburg Ashram.
Not necessarily. I spent 2008 here, mostly in the ashram. As I use this as my base, but I've been traveling not as a Swami. I've been teaching Vedanta to most people because I thought it would be accessible. So in 2008, Swamiji asked me he wanted to give me Sanyasa Diksha. I refused. And this is again one of my problems, is that I was constantly fighting with my chart. Whatever my prarabdha showed up, because of what I thought was the right thing to do, and my ego would come in the way, I thought, no, I'm not going to do this. So Puja Swamiji knows my chart, and he was a Jyotishi, so he could see that I had these predisposition towards a sadhu. I lived like a sadhu without the clothes.
You were a brahmachari.
I was a brahmachari, but then I also was traveling and lecturing. I was teaching Vedanta, Ayurveda, and Jyotish in many places in the world. And in 2008, when he offered me, I immediately said no. Then we had another conversation in 2011 because I'd been teaching now for 4 years, just traveling around. And actually, it was Jyotish that was paying my bills. So when I teach the other subjects, people were not paying, and particularly in the West, people don't have the culture of dakshina. So it didn't matter to me because wherever I went, I had clients. So that would pay off my bills, and my lifestyle is not expensive at all, so I could survive on that. So basically, 2011, we had another conversation about taking sannyasa, and he said, they will not understand this teaching unless they have reverence towards the teaching and the teacher. It's not the teacher that they revere, it's the teaching. But it comes through the teacher, because usually you don't separate those two things. I found that until that point, that all these people I was teaching, and they loved my teaching, is that they were looking at me as a friend. So to them, it was just another skill, another concept, which is not something they would inculcate, which is a very big difference, because it's just like studying engineering or studying another topic, studying economy or studying the stock market, or even Jyotish is just another one topic. You see, the difference is when you start looking at it, when you come to it with Shraddha and reverence, then you start looking at that as a way of you to grow. In Jyotish Shastra, we know that the end, what we're striving to in terms of our journey, is moksha. And it's how we change ourselves, how we grow to minimize our papa, really. Yeah. So when he mentioned that to me, I began to see that really what he was talking about really makes a difference, because these people were my buddies. They were my friends. And because they were my friends, they were not really contemplating and inculcating the teachings. And so I had a great resistance to it still, 2011.
Because such a big decision to take sannyas.
Yes, and I'd done so much research by then to understand what does it entail, what can I do, what can I not do, what does it really mean. Because like Jyotish or any other subject, when I'm interested in it, I go beyond it and really go underground to find out the roots of the having Jupiter, that to a retrograde in Mula, is that I get to the bottom of the teaching, whatever I do. And that has always been the case. So I did a lot of research about what can I do, and not only what can I do in terms of India, but how does this transfer to the West? Because something like this is not very well appreciated in the West. Not only that, today people are being killed under the Trumpism if you wear something different. So I had a lot of conversations with Swamiji about it, and he finally gave me some leeway that when I'm traveling I cannot wear, but then finally when I teach I must wear this, and so on. So long story short, I did end up taking sannyasa in 2015. But just before he gave me sannyasa, he was quite sick, and we haven't had conversations for like 2 or 3 years, especially about Jyotish. He looks at me and he says, "Do not charge for Jyotish." Now you have to understand, with all my ups and downs, that was my only daily bread and butter, and he pulls the last rug that I had for my survival.
My God. And
I'm thinking, I've lived like a sadhu, I can do this. Let it go. I told him I will not charge. He did say I could take donations, but I said let it go. I came back as a Swami, and now I have to go back and do what I'm doing without charging. Not only that, like I said, this culture doesn't appreciate dakshina. So I would look at a chart, which normally I would charge $150, $200 per reading. Now they give me $20 after looking at 3 charts, or $30 after reading 5 charts. So, and I say, what am I doing? Should I really invest time? So I stopped even doing that and focusing on teaching, because it's not worth my time. You see, the point is, it's not that it's $20 or $30. The point is, they don't have appreciation of this vidya.
Exactly. That is the problem. Anything that's given free.
Yeah.
Oh, nobody.
And to me, that was more offensive than actually giving.
That's what people don't understand. I stopped even the free readings.
Yeah.
Because people are just they use the vidya.
Exactly.
They're using the vidya. I'm sorry to use the word prostituting. They're actually prostituting the vidya.
Exactly.
So it's better.
Exactly. And here, because of what Swamiji had mentioned about reverence, I have no reference to the teaching. What that also meant, I had no reverence to the rishis. I did not have reverence to the whole tradition and the lineage, because basically, when somebody gives me $20 or $30, they're insulting the whole lineage and the teaching.
Yeah.
Okay. Why should I continue doing that?
Yeah.
So I stopped doing Jyotish in that sense. Now I continue teaching, but basically I had other struggles, which is basically my father was alive, and what my guru had told me was that I inherited some properties, and this was also before I became a Swami, that I should sell those properties and come here in the US and use that money to buy me a place. He was a very practical man. So I was trying to sell this property, but then in the meantime, my brother also wanted to kill me for the properties. So that drama was still continuing. And now I'm a Swami, and my father passed away in March, I'm sorry. And then I'm stuck with, I either sell, but if I cannot sell right now because of the economy, that means I have to sit there and get into business. And I had a plan to convert it. I did the architectural plan and everything, and I could convert this into a shopping center. And I did the calculations. I could make about $25,000 a month.
Okay.
Which is a lot of money for me. And this was easy money.
The sitting item, yeah.
$25,000 a month. Then I thought I could get this going, and then continue teaching for free and doing Jyotish for free or whatever, because I have
monthly income, yeah.
But then the problem was ethics, because even to have renters, I had to bribe. I go around talking about dharma, and here
you have to do that.
So after my father passed away, I gave the buildings to my brother who wanted to shoot me, and I thought maybe that karma, let him be happy. Mm-hmm. If I know enough Jyotish to know that if I'm supposed to have $700,000 worth of buildings, that was the amount I gave up. If I'm supposed to get this, if I'm meant to get it, I'll get it. So in March of this year, which is very recent, going back to your original question about a couple of hours ago, is that I just walked away from all that, gave the buildings out, and after 9-year investment, walked out empty-handed because I lost there. I lost here in terms of my students, in terms of the money I could have earned before I became a Swami. Not only that, I could have had enough money to keep me secure for the rest of my old age, which is, I'm not getting any younger. I was born in 1960 and now I'm 57 years old. So, and what I'm doing is I'm just living off house to house. So I know where I'm staying this week, I know where I'm staying next week, and then I take it one day at a time.
Oh, gosh.
So no money, homeless. I call myself a holy hobo. And I take it one day at a time. In Taittiriya Upanishad, they say that every grain has your name on it. Yeah. And I've tested that. So since I gave up the buildings, I gave up everything, frankly. I was happy before. Not that I wasn't any happy before, because the Vedanta actually taught me how to be okay with this. So nothing really bothers me or nothing really affects me, and I'm so content, which is why you say that. Yeah.
I see that bliss in you. I see the calmness in you.
Exactly.
Your eyes speak that. I've been observing for the last 10 days. I've been wanting to interview, but I said no. Let's just wait. The mess over here. So much of work from morning 8 o'clock till 10:30. We have lectures. It's really great though here.
Yeah. So I have no agenda. I'm only here to serve. And the reason why I spend 10 days listening to lectures here is not from that I'll go make money out of it. It's just that when somebody needs help, I have more tools to apply to give. But the other thing is I'm very keen on protecting this tradition and the knowledge.
But it's a tough job you're taking on in USA, especially with the current scenario.
It's very tough, very tough.
If you want to do that, it's really tough, and we wish you all the best, but somebody needs to do that, by the way.
Exactly.
Somebody needs to get their hands dirty and do that. But I don't know how it's going to happen, honestly speaking.
Right.
We've been talking about it last 3-4 days.
But if I look at my prarabdha and look at the experiences I've had, I think, given the background and the experiences, it's inevitable for me to actually steer it in that direction. So the reason why I got involved with all these communities and groups and things like that. So I've acquired so much experience. And most of all is that it's not for me, it's not for my ego, because really the best thing I can do for me right now is find a remote place and just read my books and just sit there, which is my greatest desire, frankly.
But isn't Salisbury, such a beautiful place? I really loved it here. It's not a city. It's a small town.
It's still too big for me.
Yeah, it is. I do agree from the point of view that you are.
And then if I sit here, I'll have to teach and I'll have to do many, many things.
You just want to go deeper into the knowledge.
I can just take my books and just sit and read, and the principles you have taught here, I would like to play with them a little bit more, just out of curiosity, not that I need to prove anything or do anything.
But I hope I did not bore you for 3 days with the
No, it was fascinating, because that's the beauty of what you were doing with just D60. You just take that one chart, one Varga actually.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about a chart. One, and that was the thing I've been talking about. That if you really go deep, I've used this example many times. Today, if you look in medical field, we have 10 experts for the eyeball. 10. If they're going to do a surgery on your eyeball, they have to bring in 10 experts. If Jyotish is a model to actually really represent a human being with all the complexities and all the nuances of a human being, then there has to be a model that can actually represent and include all those complexities. And Jyotish actually does that. Yeah. The thing is, the biggest mistake we do as astrologers is that we have limited knowledge and we have limited tools, and with that we think we're the greatest astrologers. If we went around and looked at it as the medic, just look in the medical field. the dermatologist doesn't claim to be an ophthalmologist.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a specialty, and he or she, as a dermatologist, is appreciated for their specific field. Now, what has happened because of the corruption, because of the invasion that we have had with the Mughals coming in and the British destroying our culture, we look at Jyotish from a Western perspective. And Western perspective Jyotish is based on sun signs.
Yeah. But at the same time, speaking on that and extending this session, I am very unhappy with Indians who are coming from India to US. Uh, what I have always known for the last so many years is people have this great fascination to be in America, the land of opportunities. And the land of opportunities to do what? Just to earn fame or steal money or grab money from the Americans. And unfortunately, the American crowd here has a great reverence for Indian Jyotishis coming from there to here.
Yeah.
And they'll end up spending so much. And everybody back in India wants to be here. And I'm like, man, it's a joke here.
It is a joke.
It's a joke.
But that's what I call the colonial hangover.
Yeah, I think it's just about A, colonial hangover, and B, I've seen people just be so fascinated to be in America. And you know here, like I've been here like 10, 12 days, and so many people came just to, I'm not trying to show off, that
but they came to see you, yeah.
Yeah. So, and each one of them brought gifts.
Right.
Each one of them is offering, like Mitesh been offering, hey, let's hang around in Manhattan for 2 days. Anybody else would love it.
Yeah.
For me, I just love this place in the sense I hate. I've been traveling 2 months, and I'm not those guys who will want to go be in cities. Like me and he, we go around the lake over here. Beautiful, still lake.
Yeah.
It's a still lake.
It's beautiful.
It's a still lake.
Yeah.
Peaceful watching the duck over there, watching the moonlight falling on the water.
Exactly.
All that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's life.
That is life.
That's
life.
That's life. And one of the reasons Vinayji was asking me, would you come next year? I said, I'll have to check because this 20 days for me has been really tough on the business, family, etc. and all that. But the beauty about this conference is, I know the conferences that happen in US, you've been funding them for America. So it's about just those conferences are very flashy.
Exactly.
Best of hotels, beautiful rooms to stay in, all very so-called pseudo presentations, very fluffy stuff. And here it's so technical.
No, it's really, and we had.
It's always been so technical over here. Rakesh ji has been instrumental in seeing that Arshavidya Gurukulam really is a Gurukulam, making it so. And in fact, I told Vinay ji today, no, don't make it so technical, because you're going to invite the younger crowd, Whereas other conferences is all about the, dinner parties, the drinks.
It's about promoting your skills so you can get more market.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jyotish is only trying to prove he is the greater one, although in a subtle manner.
Yeah.
And getting more clients.
And getting more clients, that's what it is.
There is the Vidya.
And that's the problem. And one of the things that actually, you guys in India have more power to control it. You see, one of the biggest problems we have with this colonial hangover business is that we don't appreciate, as Indians, what we have.
Yeah.
We have the greatest diamond that anyone in the world can have, but we think it's flashy gold. It's fake diamond.
Yeah.
Now, the only way we can appreciate it is if the white man comes and tell us, hey, what you're having there is gold. But by that time, they've already sold your gold or your diamond. And this is exactly what happened with yoga about 15, 20 years ago.
Actually, it's sad. It's sad what
today,
happened
just
with
in the
yoga.
US, just imagine, and this really blows my mind. How does a culture take just some stretching exercises, because that's what you do every morning, that's what the yogis did, some stretching exercises, that you normally do for 10 or 20 minutes, because they don't prescribe more an hour, you take that and you create an $8 billion industry.
My God.
This is just the US. I haven't included the rest of the world. 8 billion. You know how much money that is actually? 1 billion is if you take a note, a US dollar, $1 note, you go all the way to the moon and back.
Oh my God.
So this is 8 trips to the moon and back. So you can imagine.
My God.
Yeah. How do they do that? Now here's the thing.